It was a sad farewell yesterday for former White House Press Secretary James Brady. Now, through tragedy and perseverance, Brady, he sat at the intersections of two areas that we focus on a lot here on this program: presidential politics and the fight for gun safety and, I would say, gun sanity. And his legacy will always be rooted in both. As the most injured victim in the assassination attempt on President Reagan, and as the victim who sought to prevent even more violence by leading a national effort for gun control. Nancy Reagan had reportedly said she wanted a young, handsome press secretary to represent her husband on TV. She got the 6'1", 250-pound, mostly bald James Brady, 40 years old, nicknamed the Bear, and known above all for his sense of humor. Brady had been Ronald Reagan's press secretary for just 69 days when those shots rang out in Washington on March 30th, 1981. One bullet striking Reagan in the chest, another penetrating Brady's skull. He was presumed dead.
We are being told that Jim Brady has passed away.
He survived, making his first appearance at the White House more than 7 months later, partially paralyzed, in near constant pain, and for a while, barely able to talk.
Morally, it's the right thing to do.
Brady dedicated the rest of his life to fighting gun violence. 12 years after he was shot, Congress passed the Brady Bill, requiring a waiting period and background checks for all handgun purchases. In 2000, the place where he held court was christened the James S. Brady Press Briefing Room. At the dedication, the Brady smile once again brightened the place up. As for Brady's legacy in the fight for greater gun control, that story is still being written today, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, Rich. And in 1993, the efforts of Jim and Sarah Brady, as we saw in the piece, led to the signing of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act. It had one main thrust: mandatory background checks before the purchase of handguns. The law applied to store-bought handguns, and according to Sarah Brady, in the 20.5 years since it's been in effect, it stopped more than 2 million prohibited handgun purchases. Sales to convicted felons, domestic abusers, the mentally ill, and convicted felons. 2 million sales prevented. Unfortunately, the holes in that law, including gun show sales and private gun sales, are still so large that 40% of all gun sales in America today do not come after Brady background checks. They're unregulated, prompting Brady's widow, Sarah Brady, to ask, what if 40% of all airline passengers were required or allowed to fly without security screenings? Would Americans, she asks, feel safe in the air in this scenario? Not likely. Add to that, we've got a Congress moving away from gun control. Not only did lawmakers fail to pass any gun control measures after Newtown, including beefed up Brady background checks supported by 90% of Americans, federal laws have actually become more lax in recent years. And the news on the state level isn't much more encouraging. While some states like New York and Connecticut have passed tighter gun restrictions, far more have loosened their gun laws, now allowing firearms in places like schools, churches, bars, college campuses, and even airports. The impact? Check out this map from the Brady campaign to prevent gun violence. States with stricter handgun laws, the ones in blue, have lower rates of gun violence and gun deaths. States with more lax gun laws, the ones in yellow, they have higher rates of gun violence and gun deaths. And finally, we come to the NRA, the pro-gun group working to counteract the efforts of the organization founded by James and Sarah Brady. You know their track record by blocking gun control laws. And Rich, this weekend, the NRA posted video of a guy saying, if you don't believe that blind people should have access to guns, then you don't value your Second Amendment rights. That's where we are today. The group that's the polar opposite of what James Brady started after his shooting in 1981 is now advocating for blind people to be able to have access to guns.
You know, what struck me when Andrew was doing his piece, and remember this was, we get this idea that we've moved so far as a country, and we have in certain issues. I mean, look at gay marriage. I mean, we've made social progress, but he was able, and supporters of it, to get stuff done with a Republican president, right? That now would have been seen as they're knocking your doors down to go take your guns away. And this is after all the school tragedies, after the Newtowns, after all that. It's this one issue, this one stain that we have, you know, as it relates to a current political issue that's just, we can't seem to get our hands around this thing.
Well, we haven't learned the lesson, too. Think about Gabrielle Giffords after her shooting. Similar shootings, similar injuries, no movement.
Nope. I'm going to wrap things up on RFL right after this.